Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch along podcast. Today we're talking the importance of water in beer. Is Clarke Maxwell a real person? Animal groupings? And does Sheldon really know cats? Is it really going to eat him if he dies? Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot,
Make yourself a grasshopper,
and enjoy the ride. Hello there, Ryan.
Hello, Rob.
Are you ready to talk the Zazzy substitution?
I'm all about the Zazzy.
Yeah, you a cat lover?
I am not. We're going to get into that.
But they seem to really like cats during breakups. When Leonard got dumped, it was with Leslie in season 1. He wanted to get a cat.
Yeah.
Which Sheldon was very against. But here, what happens to him, he's all about it.
He suddenly understands, right? Like,
Yep.
It's all about the cats.
Yep. Didn't care about depressing music. Is all about the cats. Well, overall thoughts of this episode?
I liked some parts of it. I like the reoccurring guest character. Always love her. Build some character. I had some questions, some issues on it, but I think overall I liked it.
Yeah, overall I liked it. Definitely not the best episode ever. I did like seeing more of the shamey. Like when the couple but not a couple kind of butts heads and everything like that, and how they react to it. Amy was amazing, but then I thought Mrs. Cooper just kind of stole the show.
She didn't the first time I watched it. I was like, oh, she's in like half of it. She's only in it for like a minute or two. Like she's really very short in it, but she steals the show.
Yep, I thought she was the highlight.
Mm-hmm. She's always great.
Oh, cool. Should we just dive in?
I think so. So we are on season 4, episode 3, the Zazzy Substitution. This aired October 7th, 2010, which means that, sooner or later we're going to be getting into some holiday episodes. It's probably going to be after the holidays, but it happens. Director Mark Sandrowski, writers Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and Lee Aronson. And so we start at the apartment, and Sheldon and Amy are playing a made-up game of hypotheticals. It's called counterfactuals. Basically, they make up a alternative reality where something is different about the world and ask a question about it. And I was kind of thinking of like trying to do some sort of IQ point on this, but basically they were talking bullshit. Like everything they were making up was non sequitur. They were jumping to conclusions, and it was entertaining. But I'm like, I don't think I could research anything about that. Like
nothing really to research there.
Yeah, it kind of sounded fun. I'm like, oh, maybe there's something, but nope. I quickly abandoned that ship.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a good illustration of annoying couples that are on the same wavelength, like how Sheldon and Amy were definitely on one side, and then Leonard, the voice of the audience, just calls it out like, you're just making stuff up right now.
Yeah.
It's like siblings that have like their own language and their own code and stuff like that.
And then, of course, they kind of team up against Leonard to make him feel even dumber, right? And like, let's go play hide and seek. Is that more on your level?
I loved that part.
So Leonard doesn't really get what they're talking about, and Amy says Leonard's kind of a sore loser, and they bring up the great Jenga debacle from a few years ago, and Leonard still feels very passionately that Sheldon bumped the table and made him lose. So we don't know what happened there, but things went sideways. And
I think we do know that Sheldon bumped it.
He bumped it. Yeah, I'm gonna say he bumped it. He's a bumper. Amy suggests something more on Leonard's level, game of hide and seek, and Leonard says, I'm going to go in my bedroom, which Amy says, great job, just next time don't tell us. So
I love that part.
very mocking, and I think even more so because she doesn't mean it mocking. Like, she's just that
I
full
think
of
she
herself,
I
right?
think she was actually serious.
Yeah, she's serious about it.
No. You're not supposed to tell me where you
You're
go.
supposed to tell us, Leonard. It was a very nice try, though. So that was the beginning scene, and we're at the intro. Then we go into a restaurant, and Leonard brings up an article he read about super solids, which we've done IQ points on before in the past, right? And he doesn't really say anything about them because Raj interrupts and says, "Spoiler alert, I was printed that off and I was going to read it on the potty." Howard starts mocking him for saying the word potty, but it's innocent and adorable and suitable for the dinner table. Howard mentions, "What do you do on the wee wee, or do you go wee wee on the potty?" And Raj says, "If I'm not making boom boom." So very, very adorable and innocent terms, I suppose. Though I have to
Well,
ask,
when you're that young, I guess. When you get a little older, it's a little
it's
less
kind of
adorable.
weird. What do you tend to say? Restroom or bathroom? Water closet?
I say restroom. I
I
need to
wish we
use the
called it water
restroom.
closet. That sounds so fancy to me. I don't know
The
why,
water
but
closet, yeah. Yeah.
I say
The
I say
WC.
the WC. Yeah, I'm going to
The
WC.
WC, as they say it en français.
Once. I when I was a kid, I remember calling it bathrooms, and I don't know why, but somebody like looked at me weird when I said, "Can I use the bathroom?" And they're like, "I'm gonna go to the restroom." And I'm like, "Oh shit, is that what I'm supposed to be calling it?" Like I had a panic attack like in third grade. I don't remember. Like
Wow,
is
passive
bathroom.
aggressive much?
And then like it clicked to me like, why am I calling it bathroom? There's not a bathtub in the bathroom. It's just wee wees. It's a potty.
We don't rest in there either. I guess you
Although
could, depending how long you sit there.
I remember hearing the girls' restroom had like a little couch in it.
They
In case
still
they
do,
got
even as
they
adults.
swoon, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of jealous, and I'm like, maybe theirs is a restroom. They can actually go in and sit on the couch and rest a little bit. But by all means, if I'm gonna rest, I don't think I want to do it where people are making boom boom. I'm gonna do it somewhere else. So
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good. I'll rest when I get home. Thanks, anyways.
Because when I'm at work and people go boom boom, it is like a nuke. God.
Did I tell you the other day I was in like I don't even know how to describe the restrooms in my building, but they're typical like school bathrooms for colleges, and I was going in a urinal and kind of singing and look over and there's like a guy standing in the middle of the restroom and like picked something up and like walked away. I'm like, where the fuck did he come from? Like, did he just like magically appear? And then I turned and I flushed and I turned and there was a guy leaving a door like to a room that I had never seen before in that restroom. Like, I don't know if I've never paid attention or what, but I must have realized there was a door there, but I never knew there was something behind it. And he's like, "Surprised you, didn't I? Not many people know that's back there." I'm like, where the fuck is what's going on?
It is the bathroom you regularly go to?
Yeah, I think it was like a electrical storage closet, like maybe for pipes and electricity and stuff. And they were probably doing some work in there, but like it was just like a dark cavern, and they had toolkits. I'm like, who the fuck are like what's going on? But when the first guy just like appeared in the bathroom, I'm like, what the hell? This is like Terminator shit where they just appear.
Was he naked?
Yes, but I thought it was a potty, so it's acceptable.
It's a Terminator. You just witnessed our demise.
I wasn't gonna stop him. I had my pants down. He literally caught me with my pants down. Okay, so that's the potty wee wee boom boom discussion. Amy and Sheldon come in. I like calling them Shamey, despite Amy's disregard to that, dislike. Amy had to stop for feminine hygiene products. Apparently, she wears them all the time, so she's never caught off guard and surprised. Everybody kind of cringes at that. Penny comes out and says, "Oh, look, it's Shamey." Amy, basically, Sheldon explains to her what Shamey is, a kid's name for their joint names. And Amy says she doesn't like it. I have to tell you that this is I'm not doing points for being like Amy or not, so I didn't do any points. But had she said that to me, I probably would have doubled down on calling them shamey. I don't know why I would have been pissed off. Like, you know what? I don't care if you don't like it. I'm going to call you whatever the fuck I want. It probably wouldn't go over well, but I don't know. The way she's like, don't do that. I don't like that. Like, and she's so like, yeah, the whole thing is about her being hypocritical. So I don't know. I probably would have.
I don't know. I appreciated her directness. Like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, I
She was
guess
very direct and to the point. I appreciated that.
But she can be so rude, like telling Leonard to play hide and seek. Like, she.
Well, I think we're built to not like her from the beginning.
Yeah,
with her interaction with Leonard. So now at this point, everything that she does, we're not supposed to like.
Yeah, it kind of grates on, and they call her obnoxious. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Amy asks why Penny isn't taking their order. It's taking too long, apparently. And Sheldon says, that's the thing. You have to go through some social nonsense before getting fed here. And Amy has an issue with that, saying it's a cheesecake factory. You think they'd be more appropriate, like like a factory. Penny walks away because she doesn't want to be there. And I'm going to give myself 1 point for being like Penny, because the faces that she made during that interaction and then saying, goodbye. Like, I'm pretty sure I've had that experience before. I can't remember who it was with, but like, I'm done here. Goodbye. Penny leaving the conversation because she didn't want to be there.
I appreciate that these days. I'm definitely more like that now, but in my earlier days, I was definitely too polite to do something like that. But now I'm like, now that I'm a little older and give a lot less fucks, it's like, all right, I'm gonna be over here.
I remember years ago we had a family friend. We were like all on vacation, and I think my mom was telling a story or something, and he was gonna go get a drink or something, but he finally goes, "This is taking too long." We got up and left, and like, we're allowed to do that, and so that was like my catchphrase for a long time. This is taking too long, and like leave. I'm like, fuck yes. This is taking too long. So Howard asks about Amy's work, and she says she doubts he's going to understand because he only has a master's degree. And that shuts him up, and he's like, Raj, any questions? Raj, of course, can't talk with women, so he's like, And I think that doubles down because I just think he didn't want to say anything.
Yeah. Even if he could say something, he wouldn't say anything.
Right? Like, even if he could, he's just like, So Amy asks Sheldon why they aren't eating alone, and Sheldon says that he's the social glue holding the group together, which everybody kind of looks appalled by because, yeah, that's not the case. Although I am kind of curious because he's always been so big on, like, dividing things up and having groups of 4 and dividing food up, like having Amy there and suddenly being like, oh, I'm okay eating by, like, maybe he's just like, he doesn't act.
I guess Cheesecake Factory is a little different because they don't do family style. That's a restaurant where they would, but the bread, how do they divide up that? I guess they could always ask for more, but then Sheldon would say, well, then we can't load up on carbohydrates.
Yeah. And like, it still has to fraction out, right? Like, if you have 2 breads, then you have to divide that by 5, and each person gets 1/10 of the bread. It's confusing.
But then again, he is selfish enough where he would look past all that because it's his friend and it would benefit him.
That's exactly right. Yeah, he would make it work.
Yep.
So we are at the foyer of the apartment, and Sheldon and Leonard are talking, and Sheldon keeps claiming that she is not his girlfriend and emphasizes that they've had no unsanitary exchanges of saliva except when she, or situations when she removes some jelly from his mouth, which they both regretted. Yeah, we kind of heard that before when they were talking about having a kid and trying to get that to work without any unsanitary exchanges of fluids. So, but he is claiming she's not his girlfriend, although everybody knows. And Leonard says she doesn't really fit in with their group of what you would call a group of Rebel Alliance group or whatever. And Sheldon mentions that he's always kind of been more of an Empire man, which I thought was interesting. I don't think I ever picked up on Sheldon being supporting the Empire.
I think he just enjoys the structure of them.
Structure,
and he does say, with the exception of their building of Death Stars.
Yeah, and that's probably for the practicality because they keep building them and losing them. So he's probably like, man, that's really inefficient. Couldn't you do something else the second or third time, right?
Yeah.
Death Stars. He says everybody just kind of needs to buck up with her. And Leonard says she's obnoxious, and they already have a Sheldon for being Sheldon-esque, right? And suggests that maybe Sheldon and Amy can take the relationship elsewhere, and so they don't have to deal with it. Sheldon claims is kind of defensive and claims that he suffered in silence during Leonard's relationship with Penny, and this kind of sets Leonard off that Sheldon was never quiet during any of it. He bitched the whole time with every little thing. Although I also thought this is weird, and I made a note of it because he suffered, but he also likes Penny. She's a close friend, as close as friends can be. So, like, it was kind of weird. Like, he brings it up as a negative, but at the same time, I feel like he would be lesser of a person if Penny hadn't been part of their family. So, I thought it was weird that he spun it that way. I could see it, and I think it's because he is defensive, even though he's not admitting to being defensive and having a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So the next scene, we are at Penny's, and Raj is drinking a Coors Light and says nothing makes beer taste better than clear Rocky Mountain spring water. And this is my first IQ point because, well, fuck, I love beer and brewing. And I have to tell you, as far as brewing goes, I'm pretty sure water is my weakest point, that it gets really, really complicated and it's really, really difficult to finagle. But the water you use going into beer can influence the taste of the final beer, which seems understandable. But the notion is some places have better spring water, well water, that sets it up to be a better tasting beer, which is why you get some lagers, Pilsner, Vienna, even like, different beers as staples in different parts of the world because their water has actually set up like the grain they have is great, but the water is perfect for brewing the type of beer that they've grown to be known for. And so technically I would say, Rocky Mountain water probably does influence beer, although Coors is made in different factories. And when you get these big breweries, they use a lot of water chemistry to make sure the water is like all exactly the same going in. In fact, brewers oftentimes, although they may not like or drink Coors Light, Miller Lite, Busch, or whatever it might be, Bud Light, they respect the brewers because they're able to make every single can like taste the same, the consistency factor. And if it's water brewed in Colorado or water brewed like on the East Coast or in a different country, they make every single can taste the same, which is like freaking impossible for microbrewing. It tastes very, very similar, but like every batch is going to be at least a little bit different. I was going to say, before I get into that key point more, that I remember hearing about Alaska brewing, that they had the option of expanding and making more breweries around the country so they don't have to ship from Alaska. But their stance was, if we aren't using the water from Alaska, it's no longer Alaska brewing. Like, it's different water, it's a different product, and we want to make a staple of this. I've heard other breweries have done that, other breweries don't care, but I thought it was a cool, as far as brewing goes, like a motto to stand by. Like, it's water from Alaska, that's what makes it Alaska brewing.
It's the integrity move.
It's the integrity, exactly. Integrity. We got integrity.
Yeah. Integrity.
Integrity. So the IQ point is about water brewing. And again, I'm not a chemist. I know a little bit about this. I worked on it when I was in brewing school. For some reason, I like the yeast side of it more, the biology side and counting yeast. I was better at that. But the thing is, like, I remember the teacher saying that when you're messing with water chemistry, it's like splitting hairs with like knives, and that the amount of stuff you're adding to the amount of water you're working with is probably going to screw up the brew as opposed to make it better. So usually they suggest don't mess with it unless you absolutely have to, or you're working on a larger scale. At least that's what I got. But so according to beerandbrewing.com and beersmith.com, which Beersmith is a app that many brewers use to kind of put recipes together, and it's got like all the mathematics in it to make sure you're using the right amount of water, considering the boil off time, considering the amount of grain you're using, stuff like that. But what we have is water affects beer in three ways. It has the pH can cause an impact on expressed flavors and cause. Where do I want to go with this? I'm going to come back to this. So the pH can cause different flavors. The sulfate to chloride ratio can provide different flavors, and contaminants like chlorine can cause off flavors. And so the pH, basically, if the pH of the water is off, technically the water is supposed to be more alkaline because the grain is more acidic. And when they balance, you're supposed to get a pH of between, different websites say different things, but between 5.2 and 5.5. I think I've heard 5.6, 5.7 is fine, but if you start going above that, especially into like the 6.0 level, the water is going to start extracting flavors from the grain that make it taste like bitter tea. So basically the same reason you're not supposed to steep tea or boil tea for too long, because it gives it like these bitter flavors, your beer could end up with the same flavor if your pH is off. And basically there's additives that you can use. I've never had to use any of these. I accidentally bought some lactic acid, which apparently I could use if my water goes off, but lactic acid, acid malt, phosphoric acid, hydrochloric and sulfuric acid, which apparently is not something homebrewers really get their hands on. Or there's buffers, basically salts to help stabilize the pH. Yeah, and I've never had an issue with this, but I do check my water when I'm lautering. Basically, after I've let my grain steep like tea, I rinse it off to get more wort, to get more water to brew. And like with that, you're supposed to test it like 4 times, where you're lautering every 15 to 20 minutes to make sure something hasn't gone wrong and you're not getting like those astringent flavors like bitter tea. So that brings us to the sulfate to chloride ratio, which the website said it provides seasoning. And I remember this because we tasted some beers that messed around with this. But basically you can add chloride, calcium chloride, which could enhance malty aspects in the mouthfeel. So kind of the, if you think of like a bitter, a stout or a porter, kind of that dark malty flavor, as opposed to a lager or a pale ale or IPA, you probably don't want so much chloride. If you want something that's more not wholesome but mouthier and maltier, you might add some chloride to emphasize that. However, if you are going for an IPA and you want to emphasize the bitterness and the hop flavor and get kind of a cleaner finish, you might add sulfate, basically gypsum, which I remember them saying was basically like the stuff that we build our walls, the drywall of our houses out of. I don't think it's the same exact stuff, but that's what they were kind of saying. But there was a test where we put different amounts of gypsum into an IPA while we were brewing it. And we tried them all, and like you could tell quite a bit of difference. Not substantial. It's not like night and day. It's not the difference between like a porter and an IPA, but like it's slightly emphasizing the flavors a little bit differently. But then we found out that we were putting in like 10 times the amount of gypsum than we were supposed to. So it's like, yeah, it's gonna change the flavor a lot. But even at the right amounts, like it's supposed to be like kind of, seasoning. I think that's a good word. Seasoning it into the direction you want, just for like that slightly more adjusted flavor. And then for the third part, the off flavors such as chlorine, I know this all too well, that you are technically, if you are using city water, supposed to treat it for chlorine, I use Campton tablets to treat my water. Basically, you mix in the tablet, and it's supposed to interact with the chlorine and neutralize it. Some chemistry that I don't know. Some people just set their water out and let it sit like overnight, and the water chlorine like apparently evaporates. But if you don't deal with that chlorine, you run the risk of ending up with beer that tastes like Band-Aids and kind of plasticky taste. Some people say like sulfuric, but I have had that Band-Aid taste, and I'm like, yeah, it's terrible. I still drink the beer and learn my lesson, but I'm pretty strict on adding that Campton tablet like when I start the beer, like immediately, just so I can avoid that. And again, you can actually get like water reports from your city, your local jurisdiction, and like know what you're working with, and if your chlorine's going to be a problem, how much what your pH balance is, what your sulfate chloride balance is, and I did a little bit of that when I was in brewing school, but on my own, I've never looked into that. I just make sure I treat the chlorine, and so that's my brewing IQ point.
Nice.
That
Yeah,
Raj is technically
I
right.
miss brewing beer. Yeah.
Gonna get back into it?
No, I already gave away all my stuff, so I'm good.
It's not in this lifetime, at least. Not getting back.
I kind of miss it, but I've replaced that side of me, like, because it's basically like baking in a sense. It's like a little science. It's like you have to measure everything out. You have to like let it like, you're not cooking it, but like the steeping, the making the wort, and then you have to like when you bottle it or keg it, you have to like let it sit and everything like that. And yeah, so it's like baking in the sense. So I've actually replaced that need with actual baking. So
that's fair.
I've been doing a lot more breads and everything like that. It's been fun. I've been thinking about doing like a sourdough starter, but then I don't make sourdough nearly enough or eat sourdough nearly enough, and it's like it's labor intensive, but not labor intensive. If you've ever done it,
long ago, somebody they did the thing where somebody had a starter and they used it and reused it, and they gave like a part of it to somebody else, and so like I was like the fifth one on the chain of the starter, and I used it to make bread. I did it like once, and it turns out good.
It does seem a little wasteful if you don't utilize it, because you're constantly like removing some and throwing it away and then refeeding it. And the issue that I'm having with it is that you can't just make bread. Like, you can't just flip a switch and say, I'm going to make bread. I'm just going to pull everything out and make it. You have to like, well, I have to pull it out, let it come to room temperature. Now I have to refeed it and let it activate. So 15 hours later, I can make bread. It's like, okay, that's not really my jam right now. So
I need instant results. God damn it.
So I'm just using yeast. So sorry, everyone. But yeah, I'll just buy my beer. Either that or I'll drink yours whenever I see you.
That's fair. It's something where I have this OCD thing of I want to get really good at it and just make consistently good beer. And I don't feel like I've gotten there, but I'm running out of time. It's like I have an Oktoberfest that's kind of been lagering for like, I don't even think it was supposed to lager this long, but I think it's been in there for like 3 months.
Oktoberfest is over. You should have planned that better.
Right? Well, partially like they kind of gave the mixes out a little late, and then the week I was supposed to do it was like right before school started, and then I got COVID, and I couldn't do it then, and then I was like in this domino effect of schoolwork and getting caught up with the new year, and then I finally did it, and it was too late for like the beer tasting, and then like I haven't had time to keg it and carbonate it, and I was gonna do that Friday, but instead I worked on Christmas lights for like 4 hours, and it's like I need more time. Maybe this week, maybe over Thanksgiving I'll have some time. It'll probably take a couple hours to keg it because I want to drink that. It looks really good. It's funny too. I just fucking around. I had like an extra gallon that I put into one of my steel keg cans, and I put a whole packet of yeast in and put a stopper in, but the stopper I don't think was airtight because it didn't bubble. But I let it sit for like a month, and tried it, and it came out to like a pretty nice sour. So I don't know what I did or how it worked. Definitely contaminated, but that's what sour is. It was like I could drink this, but it wasn't worth carbing or really working with because I only had like it wasn't even a full gallon. It was like maybe half to 3/4 of a gallon. But
That's the heartbreaking thing with beer brewing is like it's such a long journey, and then if you fuck it up, that there goes like a month of time, and you got to start over. And
month of my life,
and
goodbye.
and then even troubleshooting it, it's like the error could have happened at any one of these checkpoints.
Yeah, and like most brewers will just say try cleaning better, and it's like it wasn't that, and they're like, well, if it wasn't cleaning, you're probably fucked because it could be so many other things. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
you're hopeful it's cleaning because that's the one that you can fix easily. But like,
Yeah.
was the yeast healthy or mature? Was the temperature right? Did you add it at the right temperature? Did you get too much pH balance? So many things.
Yeah, we've been it's funny, this weekend we've made 3 loaves of bread, and it's just because it wasn't rising, and we just were like, wait a minute, something weird is going on. Am I not temping the water right?
Yeah.
Are we not kneading it enough? Is it not rising long enough and everything like that? But I think we deduced it down to just bad quality yeast.
Uh,
So I'm gonna go out and get some more yeast tomorrow, and hopefully that solves the issue. Because if it doesn't solve it, then I don't know. But I have to troubleshoot some other things.
My kitchen is just cursed. This
Yeah.
kitchen will make no bread.
Yeah. The bread gods are saying, you've had enough.
No bread for you.
Look at that waistline. You've had enough. It's for your own good.
We're going to cut them out for you.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. Raj asks where the Rocky Mountains are. I think this is funny. He didn't know. And Howard just says Philadelphia.
Well, it makes sense. He's not from the area. We've kind of figured out that he's only been there for like what 10 years ish or something like that. And
yeah, geography but the Rocky Mountains are pretty.
Well,
although you're right,
geography of another country is like, who cares?
Yeah. It's like I should know where some mountain ranges are, but if you're like, where are the Alps? Like, I'm hoping I could point them out on a map. The Swedish Alps somewhere. Yeah. Swiss Alps. I don't know. Swiss.
Somewhere in that area.
Yeah. Europe. They're in Europe. Okay. So yeah, I can see that, but I do like him saying Philadelphia, and apparently that's because where did Rocky take place? Philadelphia. So apparently Rocky's named after the Rocky Mountains.
There it is.
Makes sense. Penny asks about avoiding Shamey, what's going on, and Raj says he's comfortable they're all kind of talking about avoiding Shamey. And Raj says he's comfortable right there in her apartment and tells her to go get him a beer. And she says, go get it yourself. And he says she's been taking bitchy pills. And this reminds me, I once told a friend, like, kind of like a jerk like that, like, go get me a beer. And, like, I meant it, like, as a joke. And I thought she was going to say, like, go get your own beer. But, like, she's like, okay. And, like, God, I'm like, I felt so bad afterwards. I don't know why this reminded me of that, but I can never do that with a straight face now, asking somebody to get me a beer. Like, it seems so rude to me. And she actually got it for me, so I was, like, twice the jerk. Like, it wasn't even funny. It was just mean. Oh, man. So, yeah, Raj says Penny's taking bitchy pills. Penny says Raj is an ass when he drinks. And Howard mentions that Raj is always an ass. She just doesn't hear it because he's always whispering to Howard. Leonard brings up that Shamey could be going on for years and they're going to have to get used to it. Raj says, well, Penny's going to need to get better TV channels, satellite TV, and maybe try vacuuming like once a week. Yeah. Then Penny starts exfoliating her feet. Leonard's telling about how he got into a fight with Sheldon and says that he stood up for Penny. Although, as he watches her exfoliate her feet, it becomes obvious why Sheldon might have been irritated with that. And
Yeah.
Howard like finally takes the exfoliator out of her hand, is like, let me show you how to do it. And she like kind of freaks out, but he's like, I do this for my mom all the time. And she's like, oh, that is nice.
He knows how to do it.
He knows. And then he's like, and when you're older, I'll show you how to massage your varicose veins, which kind of grosses everybody out.
He's very close to his mom.
Very close. Yeah. Next scene, we are at the cafeteria, and Raj has a headache. He's pressing a cold can to his head and says he's never going to do that again. Leonard assumes Raj means he's never going to drink all of Penny's beer, then run down to a gas station for a couple of 40s, some Slim Jims, and the latest copy of Bombay Badonkadonks. Raj says he was kind of homesick, so that's why he wanted it.
Howard's... I did see if that was a real porno.
Was it?
I did. To be fair, I did not search that hard. A couple Google searches was enough. I did not find anything. So, and then I deleted my history.
That was a rabbit hole I didn't really want to go down too far.
I'm good. But it was for the podcast.
It's all for real. The podcast.
Baby, I was researching the podcast.
The podcast is over. So Raj was apparently homesick and wanted some, badonkadonks, Bombay badonkadonks. Yeah. Howard says that his highlight was Raj reenacting his Bollywood skills and demonstrates with something that is very offensive. And I thought it was hilarious that Raj says, that's really offensive. And Howard goes, we all thought so. So don't know what Raj did the night before, but apparently it wasn't too far off. We all thought so. Shamey enters the cafeteria and she says that Sheldon's work has been pretty impressive for theoretical work. And so she's starting to kind of do this, downcasting, belittling, there we go, belittling of him and his occupation. And she thinks his work is cute compared to neurobiology. And he asks if they start talking about some theorists. He asks if Babinski could rise to the significance of physicists such as Clarke, Maxwell, or Dirac. And she says that Babinski eats Dirac for breakfast and basically craps out Maxwell. I did a quick IQ point on this to kind of understand who they were. Did you look into them at all?
I did. I wasn't sure if I wanted to call it an IQ point because it was very brief, just to kind of know who they were.
And what they're known for.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
You want to go first and see what you got? Maybe I can add to it and we can call it an IQ point?
So, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it for the podcast.
Fuck it all. This is our podcast. I learned something that I'm going to quickly forget because I'm never going to remember all these people. So that's another reason why I wasn't sure if I wanted to call it an IQ point. It's like, do people care about this?
Nobody cares about other people.
Yeah. Clarke, Maxwell, fuck off.
Babinski. No.
Well, so I wasn't sure. So Clarke Maxwell, did you find a Clarke Maxwell? Because I found a James Clerk Maxwell, like specifically Clerk, and they kept calling him Clarke. I checked the transcript and I re-listened to it multiple times and looked at the subtitles. They say Clarke Maxwell.
You know, I noticed that too. They definitely say Clarke, and I thought that I misheard and just went with Clerk. But you're right that I found a Clarke Maxwell, and I assume that's what they were going with. And maybe his name.
An error, though.
Yeah, I think that's an IQ point right there. That seems like an error because it's too coincidental that there would be another person, theoretical physicist named Clarke Maxwell, when there's a Clerk Maxwell that's really well known. So
I could not find Clarke Maxwell. But James Clerk Maxwell was a Scottish physicist and mathematician responsible for the classical theory of electromagnetic radiation, which was the first theory to describe electricity, magnetism, and light as different manifestations of the same phenomenon. Maxwell's equations for electromagnetism have been called the second great unification in physics, where the first one had been realized by Isaac Newton. So, pretty big deal in the physics world.
He's nothing compared to Clarke Maxwell, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure he's a porn star in Bombay Badonkadonk. Now he defies physics.
Amen.
And then there's Dirac, who is Paul Dirac, an English mathematical and theoretical physicist who is considered to be one of the founders of quantum mechanics. And he won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1933. And then they throw out Babinski, who is Joseph Jules Francois Felix Babinski. That is a name.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
One more time. Joseph Jules Francois Felix Babinski. He was a French-Polish professor of neurology. He is best known for his 1896 description of the Babinski sign, a pathological plantar reflex indicative of the corticospinal tract damage, which is pretty interesting. I read it up how you actually perform this test and what it kind of does. But if you want to perform this test and see if you have this, your doctor or someone will use their finger or a tool like a stick or a hammer to stimulate the bottom of your foot. They'll run it firmly from the outer edge of the foot at the heel to the bottom of the big toe. And in older children and adults without the neurological problems, the foot will remain still. Or the toes may curl downward during the Babinski test. So basically, if you just kind of touch that area, you'll just kind of start curling like naturally.
Mm-hmm.
But that actually is like a neurological issue. So if you do have that, there's something wrong with your brain.
Yeah, I was just looking at the pictures of the feet and trying to understand it, but that's the way I got it. That like if you tickle the foot and it curves in, you're okay. But if it goes outward, something's gone wrong in the spinal cord and brain. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last person that we did a little research on, Gottlieb Frege. Full name is Friedrich Ludwig Gottlieb Frege. Great names.
Yeah.
These are great names. My name's boring compared to this.
I was pronouncing like Frege, but it's Frege.
Frege, yeah.
Frege.
He was a German philosopher, logician, and mathematician. He was a mathematics professor at the University of Jena and is understood by many to be the father of analytic philosophy, concentrating on the philosophy of language, logic, and mathematics. Frege is widely considered to be the greatest logician since Aristotle, and one of the most profound philosophers of mathematics ever. And that's what I have on these guys.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I was going to add is with Frege, that he's known for two papers, one called On Sense and Reference, which had to do with language, and my understanding was like basically on how language connects with thoughts a little bit. I could be wrong on that. I only briefly looked over that because I think when Sheldon brings him up, he's talking about the paper called The Thought. And the thought argues basically that Platonism, basically the notion of Plato, the theorist, the philosopher, was said that there are things, basically mystical elements, my understanding, in the world that like can't necessarily be predicted or defined by rules and law. And my understanding was one of those is like the notion of goodness, I guess, and God, I guess, connected to God. But that conflicted with psychologism and formalism, which is basically everything can be dictated by rules and laws. And my understanding is Amy's saying that with enough biology, she can reinterpret his brain and understand his thoughts, Sheldon's brain, and understand how he got to the thoughts before he gets to the thoughts. And Sheldon's saying, that's hogwash. You can't do that. There's things about the human brain that are completely unpredictable, which I guess would go with theoretical physics and quantum mechanics, that there's things that we have to understand. We can't predict completely. It's Schrodinger's cat, right? That we have to assume the cat is both dead and alive. We can't predict 100% one way or the other. So that was my understanding of Frege.
Of their argument too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's enough for I vote for an IQ point for that.
And IQ point it shall be. Merry Christmas, everyone. You get another IQ point.
An IQ point for you, an IQ point for you. Everybody gets one. Oh man, I have too much power. So Amy says her work is better than Sheldon's, and by extension, it's better than everybody's at the table. And they all kind of like, what the fuck? The debate continues, and basically it comes down to they vote to terminate the relationship, in which the case they agree, and she gets up and leaves. Moving on to the next scene, Sheldon is folding laundry, and Penny comes in and is talking to him a little bit and asks him how he's doing after the breakup. He says it wasn't a breakup, she wasn't his girlfriend. And Penny says, well, I know it could be tough. She's trying to be empathetic with him. And he says he's fine, there were no emotional bonds, but he's on his way to buy a pussycat. And that's where things start to go off the rails a little bit. Going back to the cafeteria, Leonard says he's worried about Sheldon. Says it's basically all turned into boom boom, right? After explaining to Raj what his what was it? It hit the reef, right? And Raj doesn't know what that means, so he's like, it's turned into boom boom. Leonard mentions that there's a new cat, and Sheldon's taking it everywhere, even to the potty, which surprises Raj. Howard says, we've discussed the P word. And Raj says, you can't change me. I like that.
I am what I am.
I am what I am. Sheldon enters with the cat, and I get a point for being not like Sheldon. Here's where my discussion of, I am not a cat person. Amy later says that they are the epitome of
indifference.
And I like dogs that they show their heart on their sleeve.
It's funny, like, I grew up with the dog, but it passed away when I was really young, so I have very, like, faint memories. But then I remember loving cats. So for a good portion of my life, I had cats. And I love them. They're great. They showed affection when they wanted it. And, you chase them around. They kind of play with you. They leave. It was kind of nice. I liked it. And then after my cats died, then I didn't have a pet for a while, and then I got a dog, and now I can't imagine ever going back to a cat. Basically, it's a long story for, like, I am definitely a dog person now. Like, I need you to show that you love me.
I need your love. I can do that. Okay. I remember when I was a kid at my aunt's house, they had cats. They had one that, like, I don't know. I think I was too young. My aunt say I was part of it, but if I was part of it, I must have been like 3 at the time. So I don't think I was part of traumatizing this cat. I think it was my older cousins and my sister that were part of it, but they apparently traumatized it. So it lived in the basement and only came up at midnight to see my aunts, who would come down and feed it at midnight. And so, if you woke up in the middle,
what did you do?
That's what I don't know. And again, I was 3, so I don't know. But they name was Twinkle Toes, and it was like kind of like it's almost like seeing Santa Claus. Like, oh my God, Twinkle Toes is there, and you'd see her, she'd look at you and run back downstairs. And they had this other cat named Jonathan, who was just a complete fucking asshole. And I remember not really knowing much about cats and petting him, and he's purring, and then he starts scratching my arm, and I'm like, Okay, this just set the relationship of me and cats for the rest of my life, Jonathan. Good fucking job. And so, yeah, I respect cats. They do their own thing, but I don't have to give a shit about them. And I have 2 cats now, and it's hilarious because they show me affection, and Kelsey's like, "Why are they showing you affection?" I'm like, "Because I don't want it. They want you to want them, and they want to make you jealous. Like it's all psychological warfare with cats, and I don't like that." And they're like snuggling up on me. I'm like, "Whatever." And she's like, "I'm so jealous." I'm like, "I just want my dog."
Just tell her to just show a lack of interest, and then they'll come to you.
And she apparently can't do it. She's too needy. So
then get a dog.
That's what I'm like. Get a dog. That's what dogs are for.
Yep. Except, oh man, it's so sad. Like, it's kind of nice, but kind of sad at the same time that, like, with my toddler, my wife is stay at home, so she always is around the dog and my son. So they don't even care about me. They only want her. So like even with the dog, when Christina is with Hunter, like the dog will be like fighting for her attention too, and I'm just sitting on the couch like, hey, I'm right here. Come to me.
Somebody love me.
I'll rub somebody's belly. Just come to me. But they're both fighting for her attention, so it's kind of nice that I get to just chill. But at the same time, it's a little hurtful.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I also don't like cats. Like you have to have the litter box, and it takes up so much room to the point where it consumes like a whole room to itself. Like I very sensitive to the smells, and like I try different litters, baking soda. I have a top with a filter, and
like you should get one of those new ones that automate like the picking up of it.
That's what I was looking into those, and there's mixed reviews, and I heard about one where the cat got stuck inside and like just tumble dried it for like a day.
Oh my god!
It's probably an urban legend, but like it terrified me. I'm like,
oh, I know I don't like the cat, but that's just cruel.
I'm not heartless. Tumble dry the cat.
I've only heard great things, but then again, like I think I know someone that got one. Like he splurged. Yeah, one of my old coworkers splurged and got it, and he said it was such a game changer because it just automatically does it for him, so it just always keeps it fresh. And I was listening to another podcast where somebody else got it and they loved it. So,
and that's another thing too, is that I'm afraid like they have safety programs to activate like a minute after the cat's gone. But if the cats get scared, I'm terrified that they're going to stop going in it and start going around the house. And the little cat, when she was younger, in fact, I'm still just traumatized that she might revert to it. But when she was younger, she did pee on like random stuff, like blankets here and there. And that's like the worst smell.
Isn't that more of like when they're younger as like a way to mark their territory?
I think so.
Because my cats did that too. Like they did it very early on and then never again.
Never again?
Yeah, it was like just because they wanted to mark me. Of course, they had to mark me a few times. Assholes.
That's it. Beltane had a what do they call it? A food map thing with like not feathers, but like fabric in it to like help her kind of like chew around and find the food in the fabric, so she didn't eat too much, and also make eating more like a game to entertain her. And the cat peed in there. And I remember smelling around like, what the fuck? And like picked it up and it was like dripping. I'm like, fuck this! In the garbage with that. So I think she was marking the dog at that point. Yeah, Rob's face right now. You can't see it, but he's like, yeah, fuck that. And poor Beltane's sitting there like, why does my food smell so bad?
Take that. I remember one time my cat marked my car.
Oh
like,
no!
Just, like not the inside of it, but I saw it just like circling around and everything like that. All of a sudden, it just kind of stood with its butt facing like the wheel of the car and just started spraying out. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" What the... and it just ran off. I was like, "Yeah."
You better run. I'm going to drive over you with this car.
I still loved him. It's okay.
Yeah, if anybody out there has any thoughts on the automated cat boxes, are they game changers or really tumble dry my cat?
Will it be the savior or the death trap?
Little column A, little column B. Kills one cat but saves the other. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they have 9 lives, so
they have 9 lives. Alright, so where are we?
They're in the cafeteria, and Sheldon arrives.
Sheldon arrives. Oh yeah, at one point I'm not like a cat person, and Sheldon brings in his cat. His name is Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer wants a saucer of milk. And so, short IQ point, but I think it's worth an IQ point because I heard
one
this.
Too.
You did? About milk?
Cats can't have milk.
Yes, go for it.
Yep, yeah, I flagged that too, and it's one of those. I noticed it, and I wanted to do this because Sheldon was on such a high horse. I thought, now that we have a bunch of cats, and we have a clouder, you should know that. So it's like, dude, you should know that cats can have milk.
Yeah, right. It's like an old wives' tale, basically, of putting a saucer out of milk for cats, but you're not supposed to do it.
Yeah, because they are lactose intolerant.
Just like Leonard.
So, yep. So it won't technically kill them, but it's not good for them. And there's actually plenty of other reasons why you shouldn't be giving cats milk. It's because it contains all the nutrients that cats don't actually need.
Mm-hmm.
It's high in fat. It's too high in fat content for cats. It's too sugary for cats. And the high calcium in it could lead to kidney stones or UTIs. And it's too high in calorie, which I already mentioned. And sometimes certain brands of milk can have artificial flavorings and sweeteners, which just aren't good for cats either. So they'll love it if you give it to them because they really like the taste and everything. But there are so many more cons on giving your cats milk than there is to give it to them. So I would say just don't. Yeah. So if you're a cat person and you want to give them milk, you really shouldn't. But you're the owner, so
I guess I like my cat farting.
I guess you do you.
You do you. Can't change.
Give them a saucer of milk and put them in the death trap. Whatever. Your cat.
Some milk and in you go. Happy birthday, buddy. I was going to add to that. I did find on HastingsVet.com, it said that it gave 3 reasons why cats seem to like milk so much. Apparently, they like that it's cold and refreshing, and like the taste and the smell like connects with them. And oftentimes, the second thing was they may not prefer water. They may not like water all that much. And I've noticed this with my cat. And my friends have a cat too that they don't lap up water. They like play with it and then they splash it like on their face, but they won't just straight up drink it. And they make huge messes. And I've heard different reasons for that, but it comes down to that it may just be that they don't like water all that much and they're just like, fuck water, but I'm thirsty. And the other thing is that it might remind them of being a kitten, and the same reason like they kind of make biscuits sometimes. That's kind of like needing milk out of a mom. That just reminds them of infanthood and kind of is a calming, nostalgic taste. But I mean, I guess we can't talk to cats stats for sure, but I thought those were 3 great reasons why cats seem to like it, even though it's not great for them and can hurt their digestion, their tummies. Mm-hmm. Anything else about the cats and milk?
Nope, that's all I got.
So yeah, I think that's a good one, especially since Sheldon seemed like he knew what he was doing so well with the cats and calling them clotters.
He's blinded by heartbreak, but he won't admit it.
and pussycats.
Yeah,
blinded by pussycats. Howard says, "Okay, it's about time they worry about Sheldon." Flash forward to the apartment, and Leonard gets home, and Sheldon has many more cats, and I believe he's at like 25. They mention it somewhere.
Yep. Later on, but I think at this point he only has 5.
Oh, just 5 right now?
It's when his mom shows up. That's when it really gets crazy.
And he names each of the cats after scientists. Leonard mentions, I didn't know you were going to be naming them all after the Manhattan Project. And the only one without a science name is Zazzles because he's Zazzy. And
Yep.
apparently it's the Zazzy one. That cat does not look very Zazzy to me, but apparently. And Leonard says he needs to talk to Sheldon. That Sheldon is trying to replace Amy with cats. And Sheldon says a group of clouds is called a clouder or a glaring. And so I looked into this. Fourth IQ point, I think it's my final one, but I found some cool stuff on names.
I did too.
You did too?
You go first, though. Yeah.
All right. And I was curious. I don't know if it was in a movie or if I was talking to you, but did you look into what ravens are called? I think it's pretty well known now that a group of crows, 12 crows, I believe, is called a murder. But do you know what a group of ravens is?
An unkindness?
Unkindness. And I heard that like a few weeks ago, and I thought that was just like so freaking cool. So I found out on cats.com and Oxford Dictionary that it's true. A group of cats can be called a clouder. And this is a mix of two words, clot and clutter. And so technically some people say it's a clutter of cats or a clouder of cats. But this like basically was popular in the 1700s and died out. And then in usage, like it's come back in the last decade, which makes me wonder if this show brought it back. Because it kind of seems like it kind of coincided with that. Might be just coincidence, but technically a clouder could be a group of cats. I couldn't find anything specific on it, but on glaring, I found that it's 3 or more cats, and they are usually feral who don't know each other. And I kind of took it as, like, I was kind of remembering it as they glare at each other because they're a group of cats, but they don't know how to, like, I'm going to glare at you because I don't like you, buddy. We all know that a group of kittens is called a litter, but it can also be called a kindle.
I love that.
Right? That's so cute. I do like that. Kindle of cats. Another term for a group of wildcats can be a dow or destruction.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's because they get so ornery and combative, I guess. Or a group of wildcats that live in the same area. Like I'm thinking of like like in an alley or something. It's called a colony of cats. And a few other things are called colonies as well. And then according to Arapaho Libraries, I'm sorry, I butchered that, .org, they had a whole list of things, but I just kind of picked out a list of the ones that I thought were the coolest. Again, crows are a murder of crows. Ravens are an unkindness of ravens. A group of bears is a sloth or a sleuth of bears, which is weird because typically bears don't like hang out in groups. They're usually independent. But if you see a bunch,
they're fast as hell too.
In fact, I saw one the other day on my way to my family cabin. It like ran across the street and it was smaller. And Kellis was like, "Was that a baby?" I'm like, "I think that was a full size because like technically bears in this part like don't get that big." And we looked up some pictures and yeah, the cubs are quite a bit smaller, but it was kind of heavy. I guess it's just that time of year, but it ran across the street and then like got stuck in a bush and it looked kind of like Winnie the Pooh wiggling his butt into the bush. And we're like, "Oh, that bear got stuck." I mean, he'd probably kill us if we went up to him and help, but
yeah,
from a distance, it's kind of cute. Coyotes, a group of coyotes, is called a band. So I'm thinking of calling a band of coyotes like if I ever start a rock band, I think that'd be a cool name. Dogs, we usually say packs, a pack of dogs. However, there are some names. One is called a cowardice of dogs. And I found on metaphordogs.org some quotes on this and some discussion. But it suggests that technically a cowardice of dogs is, or I should say this, that a cur, C-U-R, is an unpedigreed dog. And that a cowardice of dogs is usually a pack of unpedicured dogs, so unfancy dogs, right? Not the special ones that you breed for hunting and buy for full price. And the notion is that there's this thought process that if they're not pedigreed, they probably aren't as standing up for themselves. They aren't as bold or great at hunting, and so people might have been thinking that they were cowards, and that they stand on the back line and they're not the leaders of the pack. I think that's probably all bullshit, but that's kind of what they seem to be getting at. But yeah, cowardice of dogs. Sharks, a group of sharks is a shiver. A group of skunks is a stench. A group of vultures is a venue. And a group of zebras.
I found vultures awake.
Awake? Ooh, I like that too.
Like a funeral because they're always around dead things. Yeah.
Ooh.
I know it's funny because as I was like going through all like a list of all these, well, first off, I thought, are these biologists just digging with us? Like, come on! Like some of these names, it's like, did you just make this up as you went along because it sounds cool, or like because it does sound cool?
It does.
But at the same time, I was like, come on,
yeah,
come on.
And like,
they do. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say that they do change and evolve based off the era. Like it's like you said, like the pack of dogs has like multiple names. Like it just kind of changed throughout time.
And like I was gonna say that I haven't really found etymologies except for the clouder being clot and clutter being an English word. Like you said, like it seems like that they kind of just developed by the era, right? And so maybe they are just picking things that sound cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last one I had was a group of zebras is a zeal. And I'm going to remember that one because I was telling Rob that I'm getting a new tattoo. It's going to be, if anybody's played Chrono Trigger, it's going to be the Kingdom of Zeal from Chrono Trigger. It's a little island civilization that studies magic and reads a lot of books, and it's really pretty. They're kind of at least the queen's kind of a bad guy and it tries to summon a demon, but you know that happens. But the place is so cool, and it's Kingdom of Zeal. So now every time I'm looking at it, I'm going to be thinking of zebras. Did you find any other ones that you thought were cool?
Yeah, I wrote down like the whole list, but it's like 50 of them, and we don't need to go through all of them. It's just like, because like I said, some of them I'll just go through like the ones I like and some of
that stuck out
ones.
to you.
Yeah, so a parliament of owls.
Ooh,
that's pretty cool. This is kind of a slap in the face to this animal, but a walk of snails. It's things like that where it's like, well, biologists definitely have a sense of humor. A charm of hummingbirds. That's kind of cool. A prickle of porcupines. So that's kind of like, okay, no imagination
that's on the nose,
there. Yeah. A harem of seals. Like what?
Like sex harem? Like what? What's going on? The namer there has some questions for them.
Yeah, and this one's on the nose too. A kaleidoscope of butterflies. Siege of herons. That one's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
A fever of stingrays. And this is where I know they got super lazy. A bunch of worms. Fuck off, man. And someone got fired that day.
You might fire me, but you're going to be calling them a bunch of worms for the rest of your life.
But for zebras, the list that I found had dazzle. A dazzle of zebras.
That's so pretty
dazzle
too.
Or zeal. That's pretty cool. So think of that every time you look at your new tattoo.
Yeah, zebras.
I'm dazzling, full of zeal.
That reminds me of my favorite X-Men when I was a kid was Dazzler. So,
yep.
Have you heard like it's kind of like some rumors that it's probably all fake, but I'm hopeful. I'm not even a fan of Taylor Swift, but some people have been saying that there may be a movie in the works with Taylor Swift playing Dazzler. I'm like, God damn,
they've been fan casting that for like a decade.
Yeah.
So it's been like like every new X-Men movie, there's always some sort of rumor that there's going to be a cameo of the Dazzler, and it's going to be Taylor Swift.
And there never is there?
I did just watch Deadpool.
What'd you think?
I liked it because it was the most fan servicey movie in the world. But that's what you want as a comic book
Mm-hmm.
lover. It's like, you know what? I want the fan service. Do it.
Especially by the time you get to the third one, like, don't make it shitty, just fan service it all, and that's all it is.
Yes. But I did think it was about 30 minutes too long, though.
That's fair. Did you hear about who played Lady Deadpool?
It was
So the little
Blake
Deadpools.
Lively.
Yeah, his wife and
Yeah.
his kids were like in it as Deadpool people,
Yeah.
Deadpoolers too. I'm like,
Yep.
that's funny.
Yeah, it was still good. I still really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely watch it again multiple times. And
I got it on 4K. I'm like, yeah.
yeah, I watched it as like a super fan. I loved it, but then Christina got super bored within like 30 minutes.
We saw it at the theater, and Kellis was like, I don't know about this, Ryan. I'm like, thank you for
Yeah.
joining me.
Yeah, she was just like, so they regenerate. So what's the point in watching them fight? I was like, you just don't get it.
You don't get it.
Go back to your YouTube.
That is the point. Don't you? How
Yeah.
can you not get that? That's the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. But there is like probably like an hour's worth broken up through the movie of just them fighting, right?
Yeah, like you collect it all. It's like the majority of the movie, but still good. Still enjoyed
good.
it.
Okay, so Leonard is talking about knowing that he's trying to replace someone, and they start debating if Leonard broke up with Penny, or if Leonard and Penny broke up, or if she dumped him, and she definitely dumped him.
She definitely dumped him.
Yeah, and I never thought about it as I always think like a breakup is a breakup if somebody gets dumped or not, but in that case, if I had to decide, she dumped him. Although, not through any fault of his own, he was had some issues and he's like, okay, I'm gonna get over them. But she was not in the right place for that relationship, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we see a little bit more at some point. But that's what next. How many seasons are we? 8 more seasons? Maybe it'll come up.
8 more seasons. We got this. We are going strong, everyone.
Yes. For some reason the other night I had a dream that there were only 8 seasons. I'm like, how the fuck are we halfway through this? And then like I woke up and I'm like, there's 12 seasons. We got plenty of time.
Oh, thank God. I have things to do for the next 8 years.
Yes. So Leonard says to enjoy the cats and that they're going to eat him when he's dead. Sheldon says he's already sold on cats and he doesn't have to be sold anymore. So he's apparently okay being eaten when he's dead. It's now the thing about...
I did an IQ point on this.
Oh, go for it. I was just going to add really quickly that from my knowledge, it happens with cats, dogs, not all the time. Sometimes, but not all the time. And I'm like, now the reason I like dogs, they respect me a little bit more than eating me. So what'd you get?
Yep, you pretty much captured the IQ point. I looked into how true that this really is. People always talk about it. There have been stories about this. I found this on Psychology Today, and this was updated this past February 2024. And not a whole lot of research on this topic, but most of the evidence that they found are just through like the police reports and everything like that. Because, sample sizes are very, very small because medical teams usually find the body pretty early on.
I was going to say, how do you get investors for an experiment like that? So we want to put a dead body in a room of cats and see what happens. Does that sound like a...
But it needs to be like the owner, though. That's like the key of it all. It can't just be a stranger.
So we're going to kill somebody and let their cats eat them.
Yeah. Really? No one signed up? That's weird.
That's weird. I thought somebody would have.
We're paying good money. No? Oh, we're not?
No money. Wow. No money, only death.
But in all of this, there have been reports where a pet, cat or dog, will start eating the body, but it usually after the 48-hour mark. There are a couple theories to why pets start to eat the owner. Generally, most findings found that pets will leave their owner alone out of loyalty. So generally, when they sense something is wrong, they will usually like nudge their owner and to try to wake them up. But once nothing happens, they start to get frantic. Then they kind of just start escalating their biting and scratching. And then once they draw blood and they taste and smell it, it stimulates that instinct to eat. So that's one theory. The other theories suggest that after a certain amount of time, the body of the owner will change its scent due to decay, and the pet won't recognize them anymore. So, no pet owner is safe, essentially.
No one's safe.
Yep, meat's back on the table, boys. But yeah, that's what I found.
I was watching some video or YouTube or something where a guy's like, cats, every single time I find them, they have eaten their owner. Dogs, not so much. In fact, yellow labs typically do not. So it was kind of funny that even by dog, there's some are more prone to eating their owners, but he was like pretty clear, like, yellow labs are usually the most loyal and they just lay down and sit there until somebody finds them.
Yeah, and in some cases, the dogs are protective of the body too.
Yeah.
Like, so when the police and the medical people come, like they won't they're like, get away, this is my owner.
This is my human. I don't know what he's doing now. He's been there for a little while, but he's still mine.
Yeah, mine.
Oh, hey. So, Sheldon says, who's ready for some fancy feast, and pours out the fancy feast, which is not very fancy at all. And I definitely agree with him there. Fancy feast is disgusting looking and smells so bad. I don't know. Cats, man. Cats. So back at the apartment, Mary Cooper comes in. Again, guest star Laura Metcalf, right? And she's not in it very long, but I love her presence. She comes in and says she wants to be straightforward with Leonard, wants to make sure that Sheldon was seeing an actual girl, not just something they created in a lab somehow, right?
I would be confused too.
Yeah, she hasn't really heard.
Girl. Like,
real girl.
It's a real one, right?
And they go into Sheldon's bedroom, who now has 25 cats. And I love Mary goes, it's a powerful smell, right? Which, again, cats, I guess dogs smell too, but cats just have so much more of a powerful smell. So Sheldon starts naming everybody, and she goes, I understand you gave them all cute Jewish names. And she says, this is kind of creepy. I thought that was funny.
I do love, like, the build-up, how cocky she was. She was like, I raised that boy. I've seen him at his worst. I've seen him at his best. He's not going to surprise me. And then,
And at that point, he's like, this cat's quite Zazzy. And she's like, you should have called me sooner. Yeah. So she has been surprised. He's Zazzy. Like, okay. So at the apartment, Mary says it's dinner time. No cats allowed at the dinner table, so he can't bring the cats. And Amy is waiting for Sheldon. Apparently, Mary called her. This is where he comes out that he has 25 cats now. And Mary goes into depth about she has spoken to Amy and thinks that she's very unique, right? Very, very special. But it's clear that Sheldon and Amy are not suited for each other and that it's better for everybody if they do not date anymore. But this is reverse psychology and makes Sheldon want to date Amy anymore, and even gets Amy on board quite a bit. And Sheldon mentions maybe they've acted rashly and they can work out their issues. And they settle on the fault being 60% of the fault being Sheldon's, 40% Amy's. So Sheldon's willing to take a little bit more of the blame. And then Amy admits that she finds it being the bad girl quite titillating. And they go off to see his cats, in which case she says that they are the epitome of indifference. And he says she's going to find Zazzles quite cloying. Leonard says he recognizes what Mary did, and Mary says, tell a man what to do, and he's not going to do it, and brings up a story about her, brother or uncle, losing a hand? Yeah. And she says, okay, I'll be bringing the food over now, and Leonard gets up, and she says, isn't that sweet? He's going to get the food. He got played.
Yep. Good old Mary Cooper.
End of episode. Final scene is Sheldon giving the cats away. Big sign says cats $20, but he's giving each one away with a $20 bill each. So basically this venture cost him $500. 25 cats, $20 a pop. He's out of $500. I guess he doesn't care about money, but yeah. And then we're at the vanity card.
He had to get rid of them somehow.
Right? And I remember watching this cartoon. It was like some people of the Penny Arcade cartoon used to make some like animated shorts. It's probably been 15, 20 years, but they had one, and like, I don't know, I always remember it. For some reason they talk about cats, and somebody's like the cat whisperer, and this cat is like hurting everybody, all this couple's friends, tearing up everything. It's like, I know the solution. Throw it in the garbage. Cats are nature's trash. And they're like, but we want our cat back. He's like, then just reach into the garbage and pull out another one. And they're like, there was another cat in there. And so, yeah, my thought is, who is it? Is it Sarah Anderson? Sarah, who does the cartoons, is like, for dog owners, you go out and you do research, and you're like, this is the dog I want, I'm in love with it, and you bring it home. Cat owners, and it's like she's sitting there and a cat falls through the ceiling and lands on her, and that's how she gets a cat. So cats are kind of hard to give away, I guess. They just end up with people, or if you get $20 for it, I suppose. Cats are nature's garbage. Throw it away. Like, no, it's
not worth the $20.
Yeah, I've lost a lot more than $20 worth of furniture with our cats, I tell you what. Yeah.
The smell alone. I still remember the cat litter, doing it like daily, and then you miss a day, it just builds up and just so potent.
Yeah. So potent. Remembering to do it daily is just, I don't do anything daily. I brush my teeth daily and eat, right? Alright, so the vanity card. Chuck Lorre Productions, $2.97. Everywhere I look, I see Ned Beatty. Not literally Ned Beatty. What I keep seeing appears to be his doppelganger, or his evil twin, or a Ned Beatty wannabe, or simply some paunchy, red-faced, middle-aged son of a bitch who has either the great misfortune or great good luck to look just like Ned Beatty. I would also venture to say that if you were to casually glance over your shoulder, you too would see, not now, wait until it's cool. Okay, now, see it there, are a suspicious number of Ned Beattys wandering around this country. If one were conspiratorially inclined, one might even think that someone is growing a secret army of the rotund little bastards. Why? To what end? Retribution on an apocalyptic scale for the lifelong mocking of the real Ned Beatty endured after appearing in the sodomy scene in Deliverance? Whatever the purpose, there's ample reason to be afraid. The only reassurance we can have is the knowledge that it's not nearly as scary as a whole bunch of Warren Beatties running around. The end.
Yeah, I'm looking up
Ned Beatty? Beatty?
Yeah, so Ryan and I don't actually get ahead and look at the vanity card, so
no
this
spoilers.
is news to us. So who is this?
He said Deliverance.
Known for Deliverance. Yep, I'm guessing he's the one that got it then?
I think so. Yeah, that's what he's looking like. He's the one who squeals like a piggy.
Ugh.
Yeah. No, he died in 2021.
Yeah.
And then Warren Beatty is the guy who played Dick Tracy. And if you ever saw that movie where he does a rap scene, he's like 80 years old. What's that movie called?
Was it Bulworth?
Yeah, that's what it was.
I only remember that because that awesome song by Praz and Maya.
Yeah.
Ghetto Superstar. That was that one. Yep. Still remember that one. Great song.
I remember researching that a little bit in film school, and the notion that basically he had done a lot for the studio and he wanted to make a movie, so they kind of like let him have it even though nobody really wanted it to be made or something like that. It was a interesting story.
Wow, Ned Beatty has a... that was his first role. Deliverance, 1972. Yeah. And then it expands... Very long list. Very, very long.
Who's he in Toy Story?
Toy Story 3, the video game, and in the movie. Lotso.
Is it the Purple Bear?
I did not look that up. Who's Lotso?
Yeah, I think he's the bad guy. He's like a big purple bear with a cane.
Oh.
Interesting. Rudy, shooter. So he did get around. He was like everywhere.
Yeah, all over the place.
Cool. And that's the episode.
Yep, we did it. We got 5 IQ points.
And we only went up on one side. Tally? Yeah. Okay. So we are at 107, not like Sheldon, to 103 like Shelley.
Gap's getting bigger.
Getting bigger.
Well, cool. Another episode down. Yeah. Going into season 4 strong. Gonna get stronger. It's gonna get even more awesome.
Some Christmas episodes, maybe Thanksgiving episode. Who knows? I'm watching the middle now. It's a good one to have on in the background, like while I do work. And Kelsey really likes it. And
that's with the janitor, right?
The janitor. That's all I can see him as. Like he's doing a great job, but I only see. I'm like, when's the crazy gonna come out, janitor? Because I know it's in there. But they have some great.
Did you put a penny in his door?
Did you put a penny in? Did you put a penny in? Yes, I did. Great holiday episodes. Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, and a Valentine's episode like every year. I'm like, yes. So I'm a couple seasons in and enjoying it.
Hey, aren't you watching The Office? Where are you at with The Office?
I kind of put that on the back burner. I kind of forgot about it. I got to pick that back up too.
Oh man, so good.
I'm easily distracted.
How far you're in season 4? You just got through Dinner Party?
No, I'm a little bit further. I'm somewhere in season 5 now.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Steve Carell started his own company and then they bought him out and he came back.
Michael Scott Paper Company.
Michael Scott Paper Company.
Yeah, pick it up again.
I think I just got through. There's an episode where he's still leasing the space downstairs, so he turns it into a dance club.
Yeah, keep me updated. You're gonna have a break soon. I mean, Christmas break is around the corner. Yeah, plow through it. All right. Well, thanks everyone for sticking around and listening to us ramble. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. Shoot us an email and we'll read it out. We are very interactive at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com.
Tell your thoughts on kitty litter boxes, I guess. Do you have an automated one? We want to hear.
Yeah. And this launches around Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Hopefully everyone has a good holiday season. And we will see you next time when we talk about Season 4, Episode 4, The Hot Troll Deviation.
Ooh.
Thanks for listening. This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alan Scroll. Thanks for listening.
Bombay badonkadonks.